Good day. God bless you. Welcome back, guys. My name is Zach, and this is episode 49 in the Healthy, Wealthy, Happy series. Welcome to a few more subscribers since yesterday, and let's go right into the third book of John, chapter 1, verse 2. Beloved, I hope that you are prospering in every aspect and in good health, just as your soul is prospering. So I take this verse to reinforce that your inner man must prosper for your outer man to prosper. So this both just as your soul is prospering. So let's reinforce the word of God and Jesus Christ and the Spirit of Lord in our life, and thank the Lord for our many blessings, especially in America, and know that our physical health is a direct reflection of our spiritual health and our emotional health and even our social health. And nowadays, after lockdowns and all this activity in the world and all the technology and kids just don't even get outside and people are just stuck in their homes. And let's go to Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22. A joyful heart is the health of the body, but a depressed spirit dries up the bones. So again, a joyful heart is the health of the body. You wouldn't want to do bad for your body if you truly had a joyful heart. Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. And I would add this word universe to mean God and your own will. You make the decision, and it's like self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you've been following along, I'm on day 2 of eating, where I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm calling it the BLD diet, just when you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I still think I need to work on reducing the size of each meal. I had like steak and eggs for breakfast, and it was a plate full of food. I made some turkey tenderloins, chopped it all up, put some rice, and kind of made my stir-fried rice all spicy and sweet. It's so awesome. I make it pretty regularly because it's cheap. It's just meat and rice and seasonings. And you could throw some vegetables in there, but I didn't today. But so I ate that for breakfast and lunch. But it was, the lunch serving was pretty big, but then I was like, oh, I'll just finish it off. And the dinner serving was probably close to twice of what I should have ate. Just thinking about the calories in my head, it's not crazy high for a 250-pound guy, but that's just it. I don't want to be a 250-pound guy. I want to be a 170, maybe even a 160-pound guy. So those meals have to reduce in size over time. But I'm not being too tough on myself, because I'm going back to the first 10 videos where I like take these baby steps, make little corrections. I got it written down, like 1% better habits, like make small changes regularly that are sending you in the right direction, ending up in a better place. So like snacking is pretty much gone, because I had to realize that I can't even healthy snack. If I buy some almonds to have a healthy snack, I just overeat. And as far as my recent history over the last few years, I really haven't had any other type. Almonds would probably be the healthiest thing that I would call a snack. Otherwise, I'm like making meals. And as far as healthy, because otherwise it's something completely unhealthy. So if you remember, I had the little non-scale victory. Not that women hitting on me or talking nice to me or changing their behavior in me is having a deep psychological effect on me. But it just goes back to when I told you I grew up, I was in such great shape. I didn't realize it. After I grew up, I thought, man, I think I would have taken advantage of my situation a little more if I would have realized I was just in such great shape physically. I mean, my face wasn't any better looking than it is now, but my body was just ripped, and women loved it. And everywhere I went, women loved it. And I was never overweight. And my whole life, girls were hitting on me when I was, 10, 11, 12. Girls that were 14, 15, 16 were like, oh, you're so cute. You're going to be so cute when you grow up. And then I was, and they were still all over me. And when I gained weight, and it became obvious that I was treated differently. So like I said, the woman at the gym kind of reinforced my feeling of, even though I stayed at 250, I was 240. What was I? I was 250, then 248, then back to 250. So really there was 8 days. So there was like 24 days where I really didn't do much as far as progress weight wise. But then woman, as soon as she saw me, because she hadn't saw me in about 2 weeks, it was like, oh my God, it looks like you lost some weight. And I really hadn't. So so then today I was applying for my passport. We'll get to a little story about that. But anyway, it was two women, one maybe a little younger than me and one maybe a little older than me, and one was training the other one in. And they asked if, because I didn't bring my own passport picture, it was a little small fee to just have them do it. So I was like, yeah, you guys can do it. So the one woman was like, do you want to take his picture? Oh, and they're giggling back and forth who to take my picture. And because they're training. And so I go over and they take the picture. And they give me one of the pictures, and I made some comment about, well, it's not like women are. I kept the picture, and so for some reason I made a comment like, it's not like women are running around taking my picture very often. And one of the women said, well, I find that hard to believe. And she might have just been being nice. But my point is, when I was 315 pounds, they were not even being nice, So it was just one of those things where it didn't necessarily boost up my ego or anything. I mean, I'm pretty self-confident in myself anyway. I know my fitness level has to improve for me, not for some women at an office. But it reinforced that, I'm making some right decisions, and I'm portraying that confidence in myself, even though I don't have all the weight off. I kind of feel like it, like you're there, Zach. You're there. You start living the life. Your soul is progressing, and then your good health will follow. This other one, a joyful heart. And I almost want to look up that joyful heart in Proverbs 17 in the Greek dictionary and see if I can get a deeper understanding of exactly what he means by a joyful heart. Is the health of the body, that the hormones. Like I said, I don't believe scientists and the health community, definitely not doctors. They don't know anything. They're just taught how to write prescriptions and do surgeries. And I mean, they have specialties. I don't mean they don't know anything. I just mean the complexity of our body is not fully understood. So today was a no gym day. I was kind of, I was all excited to get the appointment at the passport place because they were booked for 14 days. I couldn't even make the appointment yesterday. And they gave me a little code to scan with my phone that I could make the appointment with. I was like, maybe if I scan it first thing in the morning, there'll be an appointment in like 14 days from now because it's booked out 14 days. But then if one day goes by, because you can't book it out more than 14 days. So I got up this morning right away, like, I don't know, it's probably 7 this morning. I was up earlier, but I thought of it. And I scanned it, and it searches for the dates that are available. And it wasn't searching. And I was like, oh, why isn't it searching? And then I realized it was already saying the appointment was for today at 1:30. So I was just pumped to get in there. And so I had to run around and do some little pre-homework and fill out some paperwork and get some money orders and stuff. And before that appointment, but it just felt great. And then other good feelings today was I should have swung my camera around, but I got about 4, 5, 6 plastic bins empty here because I sorted them out and digging through stuff, throwing stuff away. So I'm minimalizing my life, and it frees you up, and I just feel so much better. So to why I was applying for the passport. So I'm just going to come clean because a friend of mine was talking to a woman in the Philippines like 10 years ago, like right after my divorce. I've been divorced longer than I was married. When did I get divorced? 2001. So yeah, I've been divorced a year or two longer than I was married. It's just flown by, and it's so crazy. So anyway, the story is the guy was talking to this woman in the Philippines, and I thought it was crazy. Like, what kind of hard up dude are you to, have to go over to see, and he had a child with one. He was married, and then he had a baby with another woman, and then he dated another woman. It's very similar to my dating history where, got married, had kids, had long relationships. His was like 6, 7, 8 years, 7 years, and I had an 8-year relationship. It just went nowhere. And so anyway, the years went by, and he went to the Philippines a couple times, and it just never really happened as far as like meeting somebody to marry or anything. But he had some dating off and on, kind of, I guess you'd just call it internet dating, because you're not exactly going to the Philippines, 10 times a year or anything. But he went like once or twice a year for a couple of years here and there. Well, anyway, once COVID hit, he was talking to a woman from the Philippines, and he had went over there in like 2019, and they got along great, and they just like, hit it over the moon. And then COVID hit. So I'm going to cut into that story and say, so during this time, I'm noticing what he's doing, and I'm dating different women, but I'm interested in what he's doing. He's a friend, and I'm looking into it. And I Googled, like, he said Filipino women love American men, or just any white man in general. And it seemed kind of ridiculous. There's no way that's true, because I've looked up like Ukrainian women and Russian women, and, dudes go over there to get wives, and they don't even like American men. The Russian women hate American men. They'll take your money and they'll scam you, but they like Russian men. So anyway, I Googled what's the most pro-American country in the world, and it came up Philippines. And I Googled why would Filipino women like American men, and an article came up from a newspaper in the Philippines written by a Filipino man, and it was describing the situation that the Filipino men were in, because it's such a poor country, and it's heartbreaking. I don't, the Filipino women are like, well, if I date a man here, we're going to be just dirt poor our whole life. And part of the story is that after World War II, the United States had 2 military bases there. I want to say a Navy base and an Air Force base. They're not there anymore. I think they left like 20 years ago, 30 years, somewhere in the 90s, 2000s. But it established a history of where the women there learned to be attracted to white men and lighter skin, because in their culture, unrelated to white people, in their culture, they I don't know how to word it. They envy lighter skin in their culture, because the pigmentation of their skin is pretty light if they're not out in the sun, but it's pretty dark if they are out in the sun. So to be lighter skinned as a Filipino means you're wealthier, because you're not out in the fields. You're in a house, and you're in a job or in an office, or and if you're very dark, it's because you're out in the field. You're a poor person. So even within their own culture, they have like whitening skin cream and whitening soap, and so it's not surprising that they'd be attracted to white men then, so that their children, their daughters, will have lighter skin because they're mixed with white men. But anyway, cutting back into my buddy's story. So COVID hits, and he's talking to this woman, and I mean, he even sold his house and bought some land, and he's trying to change his child had grown up, and his daughter had grown up and moved out and went to college. So he's kind of freed up to do stuff, and which I just happen to be as well. My last son that was living with me just moved out last year, and I moved to my apartment. So anyway, after COVID now last year, he was able to go visit her again a couple times, and then they did all the paperwork and got the fiance visa, and she came over, and they got married, and they live in the same apartment building as I do, as I brought him up before. And just seeing the two interact, and the happiness in their marriage and the joy I can see in him compared to dating American women, and my experience with American women. And then, I mean, I watch a lot of relationship YouTube videos, some women helping women, some women helping men. I tend to like watching women relationship videos. I don't know why, but the one I watched recently, and I wish I had her name off the top of my head because I wouldn't mind promoting her, but I'll mention her some other time. She's not like every video is a home run, but a good 50%, 60, 70%, she really hits home for men. And she's defending us in a way that, really supports the situation that we're in America with the feminist movements and women's rights. And it's like, I already love you, woman. I already want to give you everything. I already want to die and kill for you. You don't have to do anything to make me want to love you. But my point is then my last two girlfriends, especially, um, I'll give the one from 2 ago credit that she just was in a very tough life situation. She broke my heart and I cried literally bawled tears for months, but I still I don't want to say I still love her because I don't think I don't feel that way about her. I'll say I still care a lot about her and I would help her if she needed help, and especially her children. She has the precious little daughters that would just, they'd be like, Zach, you're going to marry my mom. You're my dad, when we were dating. And it just got to my heart so bad. So anyway, but my point is that, I don't have anything against her, but the brokenness of her, kind of carried over for a few months before I got over her just dumping me out of nowhere. And then when I dated this last woman, it seemed so perfect in the beginning. Like, I am marrying this woman. I have found the woman I want to be with. She had two young boys. I'm 50 and she had like a 7 and a 9-year-old. Maybe they're 8 and 10 by now. And it's just like, probably not an optimal situation to be getting myself into. But then the way she treated me it really was only good for probably about 4 months. Maybe pushing close to 5 months, but then it was just a 7-month walking on eggshells. Why am I putting up with this? I'm doing everything I can do to make the relationship work, and she's just doing everything she can do to just crack the whip and train the dog and just disrespect me. And I mean, she did this regularly while I was talking, not while we're fighting, not when we're arguing, just because I was talking and I don't get to talk in her presence. She could talk for 1 hour straight, nonstop, without taking a breath, without letting me say a word. And then she'd say things, oh, this is where you talk about, I don't let you talk. And it wasn't even the point I was making. Like, she wouldn't let me talk in the middle of a conversation. This is just me listening to you. And she'd ask me a question, and before I finished half of the sentence, she would cut me off. And then if I tried to cut her off back and be like, well, let me finish what I was saying, you asked me a question, she'd get mad that I cut her off. And I made her forget what she was saying. And now I started a big fight. And I would just be hanging my head like, what am I doing in this relationship? Why am I still here? Nothing's this good. And it was good in that aspect, if you know what I'm getting at, beating around the bush. It was amazing and tons of fun, but you gotta be, I think of all the bashing of men out there nowadays. And, I feel it myself from these last couple of relationships. And it's like, you want a man with honor, and you want a man with dignity, and you want a man, with chivalry, and you want to open doors. You want a man to be the one that hits on you, but then we can't hit on you or it's harassment. Oh, I want a man that's not afraid to talk to me. But then if the wrong man talks to you, you file harassment. It's to the point in America. And I'm sure I have some women subscribers, and I don't mean to bash any individual woman. Obviously, we're all different. We're all different human beings. I know there's great women out there. If I could find an American woman that would be just maybe not so liberal, it could maybe work. But then those ones tend to be married for a long time by now. They're not the ones that are 45 and 50 and single. You say, well, Zach, you're 50 and single. It's like, I didn't leave my wife, and I never would have.